guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society.
So I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't think that, man. They go through all this trouble to get here and then come here and vote Democrat.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic process. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper measure of huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
Nice, and welcome to the American Awakening. That actually didn't work too badly. Started it pretty much on time. Got a really good thing to discuss with you guys tonight, and it was started from a conversation Jay and I were having, and it touches. I'm going to take it into something I touched on a few episodes back, but didn't really go too much into it. But Jay made a really good point. He's like, if prisoners like Bernie Sanders wanted, right? If prisoners were able to vote in prison, right? Both Jay and I are full supporters of prisoners being able to vote once they've served their time and are back out. Anything else involving that, hey, let them figure that out. But yeah, you do your time, you should have your voting rights restored. But when it comes to voting while you're in prison, Jay made a great point, and it's actually a point that I had made on a different issue years ago. But the point was, in prison you don't have much access to anything, any information, right? So if you're going to be voting, but you've been denied ever being able to get any information on the candidate, whether it's whether it's a presidential race or whether it's a local race, how are you going to vote, right? Who's controlling the access to that information? Prison guard is the warden? If so, is the warden a Democrat or Republican? I mean, and then because that would impact the elections locally and the laws locally, right? So, but that's not something we really have to worry about, because I'm pretty sure Bernie Sanders is not going to become president, although I got to be careful when I say that. And I'm pretty sure even if he was, you're not going to be getting, the marathon bomber voting anytime soon. That said, it reminded me of an issue that I tried to that I saw, and which is a legitimate, real now issue happening, right? And in last night's episode, we went over the Smith-Munn Act a bit, and a couple episodes previously, we dealt with like IIA policy, right? Which is listed on my website, victimoftheswamp.com. You can go there. Please check out our Indiegogo site. Please contribute to that if you can. Check out some of the other content. Everything I say, I put up there with indisputable, fully verifiable proof, right? Evidence to support everything I say. So, that being said, right, you got when you've got like hundreds of thousands of troops overseas, close to 30,000 troops in contract. Close to 30,000 troops in South Korea, right? But you have the geolocation blocking, the geolocation filters that blocks everything. I spent about 7 years overseas between Iraq, Afghanistan, and South Korea. And something I noticed early on, I always maintained residency here back in the States, just either with like a friend's address or something, and that way I'd still be able to vote, keep my driver's license and everything, have mail come there and such. But uh, I wasn't able to have access like when we had the governor's debates here in Florida, and I'm sitting in Korea. The geolocation filters blocked my access to that. Other things, it wasn't, and you would think this wouldn't be an issue, right? Jay was surprised. He thought, what I can watch here, I can watch in anywhere, but you can't really. In fact, it wasn't until, and you can look this up. There are, was it the Stars and Stripes did an article about the I think Okinawa or somewhere in Japan, the base over there. It wasn't until 2015 maybe that you could even get Netflix, and that to do that they had to set up proxy servers on base, and then the proxy servers on base didn't do anybody any good to really be able to access it because you paid about $150 a month to be able to get 12 megs for bandwidth, right? Sometimes that 12 megs is shared with your roommate trying to play a video game or someone Skyping. I mean, it's impossible, right? So, but that was one of the first times you could access that. So we have this huge population of voters overseas, right? And how do they get their information to vote? Well, for the last, during the entire Obama administration, they controlled everything, all the information that any troop or most people have access to, because that access is controlled, that information is controlled through, let me pull the defense military, the DMA, the DM. I pull it up right here. I actually filed an IG complaint against them or with them against the director of television with AFM. Let me see. There it is. Okay, let me pull this over. Okay, so this is the Department of Defense Media Activity, right? And Patrick Berge, Executive Director, Mobs Networks, dear Mr. Berge, this letter in response to your March 3rd, 2015 letter to the Inspector General concerning alleged misconduct by Mr. Larry Murata. Mr. Larry Murata was the Director of Television for AFN, right? At that time, AFN was, at the time, AFN was really the only way you could access any type of news or any type of information overseas, and that required a satellite dish. AFN was extremely outdated. It's $100 million self-licking popsicle of appropriations, and it's just huge amounts of government fraud, waste, and abuse. But those folks control everything. You'll find a article on victimoftheswamp.com about how MSNBC or Iran, Voice of America Iran, towards the end of the Bush administration was pretty much being controlled by former producers of MSNBC, right? So it was becoming a very liberal organization, and those guys were controlling all the media over there, right? So that was a big problem. And so that was a big problem, right? Who's controlling that information for the hundreds of thousands of soldiers and contractors overseas? Because over time, the geolocation filtering reduced everything. I remember we used to watch Jon Stewart with the comedy, on Comedy Central back when it was good, and I enjoyed that show. And then all of a sudden, you could no longer watch it, right? Because that was in like 2014, 2015. You had to watch it through a proxy or download it somehow later on, or watch an illegal download through a torrent. But is that you want to, I wanted to vote. I voted for governor of the state of Florida. I'm voting over there. I want to be able to have the best information possible. How do I get that? I don't. So we're trying to the Freedom Stream, which was a component of MobsNet, Military Online Patriot Services, right? We were we had built myself and Fred Taylor, three-time Purple Heart recipient, and a couple other guys. We had put together this veterans-based nonprofit, 501c3, and we were trying to bring video on demand to our troops overseas. We were getting into gaming, video gaming and stuff too. It was going to be really cool. And we were going to be basically offering video on demand services because that was not being offered by AFN, right? And so we had set this all up. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I flew from Korea to Miami. I met with television executives. I worked with the NFL for Super Bowl 50 to be able to be the first veterans-based nonprofit to provide free to our troops overseas video on demand live streaming feeds of Super Bowl 50. We had it set up. We were close to putting this together. And then Larry Murata, the director of television for AFN, calls up our vendors and says, who were mutual vendors, and says, don't do business with us. Now, he's got 100 million reasons not to let a veterans-based nonprofit who would be able to provide actual tax benefits to people donating our content to be watched overseas, something AFN could not provide to people. But they didn't want to lose that control over what our troops overseas saw. That voting block, right? Let's not call them troops for a second. Let's call them a voting block. They are not only over there defending your right to vote, but every aspect of them being able to vote is encouraged and supported and made easily available, right? So we want our troops to vote. Don't we want them to have the information? And as in my case, we wanted to be able to offer a nonpartisan solution for that. Let everybody we wanted to be able to provide content through local for even like a state gubernatorial race, all of those, right? Governor races. Nationwide. We want to be able to provide those to our troops overseas. It was a great idea. It's basically we're trying to fix a problem that already exists that Jay identified initially in our conversation as being a horrible, catastrophic thing to have happen. I'm like, yeah, having 100,000 or however a million people behind bars being able to vote is not the problem. The fact that they have no information to be able to make an informed decision on that vote seems to be a bigger problem than them being able to vote. Right, and we're not going to pay, and that the logistics, as Jay just mentioned, right? How much money would that cost? The logistics of being able to make that happen, to be able to provide them a service, I don't think they should really have anyway. They waived that when they broke the law, ended up behind bars. They're doing their time. They don't get that. They don't get cable TV, although I think if you're in federal prison, you might. There are just certain things that you sort of don't get, and you sort of probably don't need. I think maybe you got some issues in your own life. You should be able to take that time, work those issues out, right? Why not? Try to prepare yourself for, going back into life, right? But that's not that's not the case. Yeah, and the political bias. That's how it gets started, though, right? There's nothing wrong with that. The Democrats want to turn what I'm saying there into a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. That's saying, I believe in you, I trust you, I believe in you, I believe you can do better, I can believe you can be a productive member of our society. What do you need? How can I help you make this happen, short of actually doing it, or like AOC says, paying you to do nothing, right? Short of doing that, how can we make that happen? How can we reduce that recidivism rate? Well, the best way to do it is vote Republican, and I'd like to actually, be able to explain that to them. Once they get out, we don't need to be able to try to figure out a way to do that, to do it while they're in, but we do need to figure out a way how to make sure our troops overseas are getting all the information so they can make these informed decisions themselves, because they already do vote. They not only vote, they are encouraged to vote, and they are a huge block. And if a partisan group of people are controlling the information that they are getting, we're talking huge amounts of people, and we're talking limited amounts of restrictions on them. What are the laws in place on that, right? I know right after a couple weeks after this particular the Department of Defense that issue this a couple weeks after I got this letter saying the case was closed because Fox Entertainment refused to speak. They sent their attorneys and said we're not going to talk. Right? They pulled the Hillary Clinton on them, and the IG has no ability to force them to compel them to do it. Right? But within a couple weeks after that, Comcast, or one of those big companies, won a multi-million-dollar contract to provide video on demand to our troops overseas, and so now a private organization like Comcast or something like, who, I don't know, maybe we want to find that out, who won that contract, because now that individual, that private corporation, not a nonprofit, veterans-based nonprofit, but a private corporation, is going to be the ones that are going to be providing any type of information. And I know that I guarantee you, because I saw the original. A request. They put an RFP out, request for proposal. The AFN did put an RFP out. They refused to allow us to bid on it because they wouldn't classify a nonprofit as a business. So we were disqualified from being able to bid on that. So that's why we just went and tried to go around them and just get the contracts from Fox and these other people to just do it ourselves, right? And when they found out that we had done that, when they found out I flew and met with the executives in Miami, they started calling all the people up that I met with and said don't do business with them. And that's why I filed that Inspector General report. Then Fox Entertainment pulled a Hillary Clinton and the thing was dropped. And now we have no idea what private organization is actually controlling all the information that our troops overseas are getting and our contractors overseas are getting to be able to make that informed decision on how to vote. That it's PSYOP at its finest. You've baked IIA into that cake. Instead of yellow cake, Jay, it's IIA cake. I like that. So that's in the infamous words of Forrest Gump. That's all I got to say on that matter. You guys need to do something on y'all have to take matters into your own. People don't even if you don't even share this stuff, then you get whatever happens to all of us, we have coming. We deserve. If you don't get this message out, I'm doing the best I can. If you don't do what you can, then what good are we doing? Then they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. The Larry Muradas, that was under Obama, right? So getting ready to close out here. Just remind everyone to go to victimoftheswamp.com. We do have the Indiegogo site up there, so that you can. You can. Thanks, Jay. You can order the book from there, and you can order the book from there. You can order. You can link to everything. We have a lot of good information. Speaking engagements. Oh, speaking of Jay is going to shoot me, but I'm going to say this. I had sent some stuff to Roger Stone, hoping that he would help and investigate my story, right? Because I believe my story actually vindicates Roger Stone. All right. It really does. We were in the same business. I know exactly what he's been doing. I know exactly what they were doing. But it's not. It wasn't illegal. It's just it's what I was doing, right? So I'm not holding it against him. I'm not being a jerk about this. But I sent him that request, and I was like, hey. And so when I saw that he read it, I was like, so Jay, Roger Stone read this, right? I was like, and then I told Jay the story how Roger Stone has a tattoo of Richard Nixon on his back. And I said, "Hey, Jay, what do you say I send another DM to Roger Stone and tell him, listen, if you investigate my story and report the truth, and I don't care what, as long as it's the truth, I don't care what it comes up." I said, if you do that,
I will do it.
If you do
my
that,
brother's tattoo.
we'll do well. I'll put next.
Stone, baby.
we'll put a Roger Stone tattoo.
Get the word out.
Right? Now, I'm going to put the Roger Stone tattoo. Oh, you think I should put it next to my Russian snowflake, Jay?
It's going right. My daughter's
You like that?
there, so-
You like that? The pioneer of the shadow net, which Mueller refused to even like call back, has a tattoo of a Russian snowflake on his freaking shoulder. Oh yeah, Mueller, you were right on top of that one, right? I have nothing to do with the Russian things. It's a ex-wife's right? But it's literally a Russian snowflake. So we'll put, probably wouldn't want to put the Roger Stone next to my Russian snowflake. I got a tiger, and a tiger and a snake over on this side. So we'll put like, oh, do we want to put him? Okay. Jay's like tramp stamp. No, but I put in the message. I said that we would that myself and my roommate, and in parentheses in little bars I put not gay Jay. Myself, my roommate, not gay Jay, because I don't want Roger Stone thinking like this gay guy just called up saying if you do a story, him and his little pal, him and his girlfriend will get dead. He's not little, but he is the girlfriend. You like that one? So Jay's like, I'm not little. I'm like, okay, you were okay with a girlfriend. So that's our offer to Roger Stone. If he does my story, investigates my story, and no matter what the results, whether he thinks I'm bullshit or whether that he reports it. If he investigates it through whoever, and reports it, both Jay and I will get a Roger Stone face tattoo on the arm, and I promise it will not be next to the Russian snowflake. Well, no, not okay. If we give it an answer, if he just gives us an answer, then Jay will get one. No, Jay's like, hey, no, we need more than an answer. No, we need to investigate. You do that, and Jay and I will both get a Roger Stone tattoo. I will put it someplace not next to a Russian snowflake, and Jay will have one as well. So on that note, we ran like only 2 minutes over. It's not really an over thing though. I want to keep it to a minimum of 20 minutes. But if we go over a bit talking about good stuff, don't mind that. Please like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff that helps get this message in front of more eyes. That's all it's about, more eyes. I could give a crap about any of this, right? In fact, I've offered the financial rights to the story to a couple people if they were to actually do it, right? So just for nothing, get this story out. It's an important story. So on that note, thank you very much, folks, for tuning in, and have a great evening, and God bless. Thank you. I gotta find the thing. Intro. Exit.
Guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society.
So I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't get that, man. They go through all this trouble to get here, and then come here and vote Democrat.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper meshing of huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful method and goals.